Squiff and the Quest for the Warmest Burger. Squiff the sea sponge lived in a tropical town called Coral Keys. He ran the Hot Buns Shack, famous for the warmest, cheesiest squiffy burgers in the sea. Every day was sunny, happy, and delightfully greasy. Two best friends, Pip and Lulu, were Squiff's most loyal customers. They loved sharing a squiffy burger after school. But one breezy afternoon, a tiny, icy sliver of glass flew off a magic weather vane and straight into Pip's eye. "Ugh, this burger is too warm," Pip complained, suddenly sounding very fussy. "And your laugh, Lulu? It's too loud. I prefer silence." "And ice," Lulu was shocked. Pip, who loved warmth and noise, was acting completely chill. Before Lulu could figure out what happened, a great, crystalline sleigh zipped down from the sky. Sitting on it was Queen Frostine, ruler of the coldest peaks. She was impossibly beautiful, with hair like woven snow and a gown of pure shimmering ice. "Come, Pip," Queen Frostine called in a voice like tinkling bells. "You have the perfect lack of warmth. We must go organize my enormous collection of frozen perfection." No heat allowed, of course. Pip, delighted, jumped onto the sleigh. "Not my Pip," cried Lulu. She ran after the sleigh as it zipped into the sky, leaving a trail of instant snowflakes. Squiff, seeing his best customer in distress, grabbed the warmest, cheesiest squiffy burger he had ever made. Squiff and Lulu found a grumpy old reindeer named Sneasel who agreed, for a large fee of seagrass, to pull their small, repurposed canoe. The journey north was bumpy and covered in ever-increasing layers of snow. They finally reached the edge of the frozen lands, a landscape dotted with grumpy, talking glaciers. One, named Glacial Greg, blocked their path entirely. "No entry without a perfectly polite apology for existing," Greg mumbled. Lulu thought, "This is no time for manners," but Squiff, ever resourceful, just unwrapped the burger a tiny bit. The smell of hot grease filled the frosty air. Greg sniffed and sighed. "Well, that smells distracting," he grumbled and shifted slightly, opening a narrow pass. "He loves the smell, but hates to admit it," whispered Squiff. Next, they entered the whispering wind tunnels. The wind was so strong, it spun their little canoe sled around and around. Lulu was dizzy. Squiff, being a big, flat sea sponge, got an idea. He took off his chef's hat and held his square body stiff. "I'm a sponge sail," he yelled. The wind caught his body just right, steadying the sled and pushing them through the tunnel. After the tunnels, they arrived at a large, snow-covered field where a group of chefs, dressed in matching white furs, were sculpting enormous dishes out of ice. They were led by two stern snowmen named Sven and Olaf. "Halt! You dare bring warmth into the Arctic kitchen?" boomed Sven. "We challenge you. A cook-off. Your messy hot burger versus our perfect frozen ice cream scramble." Squiff, never one to back down from a cook-off, happily accepted. Squiff quickly assembled a second, slightly smaller but intensely warm and cheesy squiffy burger. The aroma wafted over the judges, three sleepy polar bears. The moment the warm steam touched the ice cream scramble, it all melted into a sugary puddle. The polar bears cheered for the delicious smell, and Sven and Olaf grumbled, defeated. "We'll take that as a win," said Lulu, with a full tank of stubborn cheer. And Sneasel now secretly looking forward to a leftover burger crumb, they pressed on toward the fortress. Finally, they reached the ice fortress, a magnificent palace of pure frozen water. The main door was guarded by two silent, silver-armored figures, the Queen's Ice Knights. They stood perfectly still, swords crossed. "Only those who know the coldest word may pass," one knight's voice echoed from inside his helmet. "Fail, and you become a very neat, frozen statue." Lulu gulped. Squiff tapped his chin, thinking about words like refrigerator and chilblains. Lulu had a moment of pure, silly inspiration. "Frigid ditty," she yelled, suddenly bursting out laughing. The Ice Knights, who had never felt the emotion of humor, short-circuited. Their bodies froze solid in a confused, non-threatening slouch, blocking the door completely. "Perfect," whispered Squiff, and they quickly found a side window that was only slightly too small. Squiff had to squeeze very, very hard to get his square body through, but soon they were inside. They found Pip in a massive hall of ice. He was carefully lining up frozen snow cones in rows of exactly 5. "One snowflake out of place," Pip muttered to himself, "and the entire structure is compromised." Lulu ran to Pip. "Pip, please, remember our Squiffy burgers. Remember the sun." Pip just shook his head, pushing Lulu's hand away with cold annoyance. "Nonsense. Only organized, permanent cold is appealing now." Suddenly, a voice like ice cracking on a still pond filled the room. Queen Frostine swept in and sat on her glittering throne. "How sweet! But your little friend is mine now," she said, raising a delicate ice-covered hand. Queen Frostine smiled a thin, frosty smile. "I can even offer you a job, little chef. Imagine the perfect, colorless, flavorless Arctic patty. A burger made of pure, permanent ice. It will never melt." "No deal." Squiff burst out, holding up the giant, steaming Squiffy burger like a shield. "Behold, the unshakable warmth of friendship and extra melted cheese." The overwhelming smell and heat from the burger hit Pip's eye, and the tiny shard of glass instantly melted and dripped away. "I need a burger with extra cheese," Pip cried, and Lulu laughed and hugged her friend tight. Queen Frostine shrieked and recoiled from the heat, making her throne melt into a puddle. Squiff offered her a Squiffy burger, and after a moment, she took a tiny, cautious bite. "Well," she admitted, surprised, "that's rather nice and cozy."